Regular readers will know that I often talk about the opportunities that Canada is missing in terms of clean energy manufacturing. Could be battery supply chains, solar and wind supply chains, that sort of thing. But there's a municipal district in northwestern Alberta that does get it. And I'm going to talk to Kyle Reiling, who's the executive director of Greenview Industrial Gateway, which is 40 kilometers south of Grande Prairie, Alberta, about their initiative. So welcome to the interview, Kyle.
Thank you very much for having me.
Give us an overview of what your Greenview Industrial Gateway is and why the municipality set it up, please.
Sure. So the Greenview Industrial Gateway, it's a 2,000-acre parcel that we have fully purchased, and now we're going through the full engineering and design. Essentially, or strategically, it sits right within the Gold Creek area. So approximately 35 billion cubic meters of natural gas is the exploration comes from that area located in the MD of Greenview. Two other factors that kind of took us down this path were that this land has an abundance of resources and opportunity, but it was Crown land. And the process to go through the purchase of Crown land for international companies is very, very difficult. In a lot of cases, you have to have your financing all in place. Then it gets put into an open bidding process. You wait up to 2 years, 3 years in some instances to hear the news, and then you have to submit for your ERB. So it was really putting the ability for us to respond to the petrochemical cycles, market demands, etc. The other critical factor that led the development of this Greenview Industrial Gateway, I would say, was water and the processing water needed for the production and upgrading of natural gas into refined goods such as ammonia, such as methanol, etc. So that was also taken on, and that was one of the initial concepts, was to do a full assessment of the Smoky River.
Right. And if I understand this correctly, you've already got two companies, Northern Petrochemical Corporation and Cirilon, if I'm pronouncing that correctly, that are going to set up facilities, and it sounds like these are large facilities, to produce low carbon ammonia and methanol, ultra low sulfur diesel and jet fuel. Is that correct?
Yeah, that's correct. We just actually made it through, or have purchased the land. We have the land title to the 2,000 acres from the province of Alberta. And fortunately enough, we do have two committed companies. NPC, they would like to produce very low emissions methanol as well as ammonia. And they plan on, upon getting their financial decisions or approvals, they plan construction late 2023, 2024 with a 4,000 person workforce. That would kind of push that up to operational in 2027, and then we would see Cirilon move forward with their development. Once again, this plug and play concept about one investing in the other's infrastructure to advance this ahead.
So I gather then that what you're doing is creating a green petrochemical cluster. Is that, have I got that right?
Yeah, I mean, I would refer to it as ultra low emissions. What we're doing here is, instead of multiple greenfield developments or the traditional way that Canada goes about its developments, the thought was that we will complete all the engineering and design in large scale so that multiple companies can then enter in. Where we really get to the opportunities in this region is, yes, you're sitting right on the source of the natural gas, and we have a dedicated corridor that actually attaches the gig to the TC main line. Once again, improving your approvals a quarter of the time of, let's say, the heartland to get your gas supply. But the real game changer is that about 1.5 years ago, we had McDaniels and Associates. They did an assessment of this area from a CCS perspective, whether or not there were saline aquifers in the area that could handle large amounts of carbon CO2. This analysis over the past year and a half has come back glowingly positive. And there's multiple opportunities, multiple saline aquifers that are located without this GP region. One, in fact, within miles of the gig So this really allows these companies to process this natural gas right at the site, capture the carbon, then we'll move it over to capture it, move it over, transport it about 2 miles, and then inject it into the Leduc Steep Creek Reef. So really, really closing that loop system in the development and processing of natural gas.
So if I understand this correctly, the competitive advantage here is that you're ideally suited. You can get easy access to the flow of gas from the TC Energy pipeline. You can then, you're only a few miles away from the rock, the geology that's ideal. You've got maybe saline caverns that are ideal for storing aquifers. So you can store the CO2 once it's been captured. So this is kind of a blue fuel. We often talk about blue hydrogen, but we don't talk so much about blue ammonia and methanol. But it's kind of a blue fuel strategy. Is that correct?
Yeah, the term blue has kind of been, that definition has moved. So that's why I'm not forthright in just saying that it's production of blue methanol and blue ammonia, but essentially that's what you're doing. You have the ability to take that natural gas, refine it at the system, develop it into products which create jobs, but also capture that carbon. And when we start saying about the capture that carbon, it's not just that easy to do. And I think a lot of people fail to realize that. Just to give you an estimate, on a $2.5 billion development such as these that we're seeing, yes, we're looking after all these engineering, but there comes a cost, and that will be you will capture your carbon. That capturing of the carbon is roughly 20% of the overall cost of this project. So in some cases, you're talking about $400 to $500 million that they're putting into their technology to capture this carbon. And right now, if I can go on my little soapbox rant, this is kind of why you need the federal government to step up and put a number on what that carbon is worth, so that we continue to see investments. Right now, these companies are going, okay, I'm going to be producing a large amount of carbon, and I'm going to capture that. Capturing that is going to cost this $400 to $500 million, but what is that carbon worth? And that's why we need some direction on the policy from the federal government.
I'm a little confused, Kyle, because in Alberta, it's actually the provincial government that administers the industrial emitter carbon tax under its tier program, and they have an equivalency agreement with the federal government. What role, can you clarify why it's the federal government, not the provincial government, that needs to step forward here?
It's ultimately the federal government that will set what this ultimate value is going to be for that ton per carbon.
Okay, well, we'll leave it for that. So look, in the press release, you say that this industrial park will eventually be home to 4 petrochemical operations, sort of green petrochemicals. And it sounds like NPC and Cirilon are 2. Is it 2 more in addition, or is it 4 more? And are you in discussions with other companies to move to the park?
So we're in discussions with lots of companies. The interest has been abundant. The 2,000 acres is kind of based on the concept that if each one of these large scale developments, how much land would they need? They would approximately need that 200 to 300 acres. I've also taken that 2,000 acres though and made dedications to common spaces. Such things as taking that 2,000 acres and doing a dedicated corridor for the transmission of gas. Such things as taking that 2,000 acres and dedicating 200 acres to the holding of the water, the processed water. So this will be essentially a dam structure, so that we're only drawing upon the Smoky right on its high times and not its low times. So when we started looking, even the water, everything was based upon, if we were to do 4 large scale developments, then how do we develop this from an engineering standpoint? Just a little bit further, we've taken 90 acres of that 2,000 acres and we've dedicated to a fully designed rail corridor. That is in complement to sitting right on the CN main line. And we worked in conjunction with CN on this. So there's multiple things that we've taken out of this 2,000 acres, but essentially it is built for the production of 4 world scale companies.
Well, this sounds like an amazing opportunity, Kyle, and good luck with the projects you've got and attracting new projects. And we'll look forward to checking in with you in the future to see how you're doing. Thank you very much for doing this.
Thank you very much for your time.